Good morning, good afternoon to everybody watching here today. My name is Caroline Moore. I'm the Customer Marketing Executive here at AppsAnywhere. If you've been following along Summit today, you'll be well aware of who I am now. Do not worry, you will not have to see my face for much longer. I'm going to be shortly handing over to these lovely two gentlemen here, Michael and Jaime from Wheaton College, which is based in Illinois over in the States. We're just going to give everyone a couple of minutes to get in, get sure everyone is on the session who wants to be here. In that time, I'm just quickly going to run over a couple of the house rules. You are all muted and you all have your webcams turned off. This cannot be changed just to help with the flow of the webinar itself. You do, however, have access to ask questions, and we do encourage this throughout the session. Please ask as many as you like. We will try our very best to get through them all on the session. If not, these will be answered at a later date. We're going to be sending out marketing emails early next week, which will link to the Summit page where all the Q&As from every session during Summit will be answered there. Now, I think we have a good number in. We are going to start the session because I do not want to take up any longer of anyone's day, and I know you're all eager to hear this story. So I am going to hand over to the lovely Michael and Jaime.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Michael Rodheimer, and this is my colleague.
Hi, Jaime here.
So, Jaime, do you want to go ahead and go to the next slide?
Yep. Do you want me? Do you want me to?
Okay. That's the next one. Oh, yeah. So go ahead and hit the whole. Yeah, get them all up there. So,
okay.
This is our outline. Sorry, I thought we were on a different slide. So I'll be handling the first three. What our original problem was, the research that we did to figure out which solution we wanted, and then why we ultimately chose AppsAnywhere. The next three, my colleague Jaime will be handling, which is what we are doing now, what's really worked really well for us, and what are some of the new things we're working on with the new edition. Go ahead and go to the next slide, Jaime. So one of the problems is, no, go ahead. I'm sorry. That's okay. Don't worry about it. So one of our problems we had to start off with is everybody wanted labs. They wanted more labs. They didn't have enough. So every department thought that they needed a specialized lab for their discipline. They said, well, you know, we're just not going to be an important department if we don't have a computer lab. That's what it felt like to us. But they're saying, no, we need more labs. They also wanted more the labs that they did have, everybody wanted more computers in them. So we just don't have enough computers. And we're like, well, why? And they said, no, just trust us, we need more. And of course, one of the things we had out there were laptop carts, and more professors wanted them because we want all the students on laptops. Unfortunately, they wanted the laptop cart and an IT professional to come along with them to help hand them out, get everybody online, and then put them all away so they didn't have to. So there, again, we were having huge demands for more resources. And actually, sometimes it almost seemed like there was it was a badge of honor to have it's like your department had made it if you had a specialized computer lab. The other thing is they were getting a little territorial about the whole thing and squabbling. And one department would have a nice, beautiful lab with 30 seats, and another department said, "Hey, we want to teach a class here." And I say, "No. So if we let you teach a class here, then one or two of our students want to come in and do their homework. They can't because you're in the classroom. So no, you can't use our lab. You have to go get your own lab." So there's a different perspective. Jaime, the next point, please. What we saw were empty labs. Quite honestly, we're like, what? Why do you want more labs? We're not seeing that. So now observations, one thing. We observed nobody there. The faculty said, no, there's lots of demand. So obviously we had to get data. So one of the things we did is we started using lab monitoring software. In this case, we used Sassafras as our monitoring software. And what we found is what we expected to find. Computers weren't being used. In fact, there are some computers in some of the labs that had never been used in years. And when we looked at what they were doing, it was mostly web browsing and using Word for the when people were on them. So all these computers I have there in that nice lower hand picture, they all had expensive licenses. And we weren't, most of them were never used. So we were paying for the software we never used on computers that were rarely used. Even though, sort of like more anecdotal evidence, we would actually find computers that were broken. I shouldn't say broken. When we set them up, we forgot to plug things in, or we forgot a video cable, and we figured it out when we came to replace the computers. Nobody had ever complained or called us and told us the computer didn't work. And also, I'm looking at my keyboard, it's a mess. My keyboards are always a mess. I spill things on them, crumbs all over it. The keyboards we found in labs were pristine, so just saying. So, next point, please. So said, okay, we did see some students. Okay, we're not saying we never saw students in there, but what they tended to be like, it was pretty clear they just wanted a place where it was quiet and they could be alone. They, because most of the time we saw them in there, they were just studying or they had pushed our computer keyboard and mouse back and were using their laptop. So it came pretty clear to us, well, I should say one other thing, the students were not asking for more labs. Student organizations were not asking for more labs. What they wanted was more ability to use their laptops or for us to have loaner laptops when they was in the shop. They had no desire to be in labs. Because it turns out, staring at a wall and a monitor with your back to everybody else in a cubicle is not exactly what college students were hoping for in their college experience. What we really saw was students sitting around tables with laptops, tablets, phones, books. They'd move around depending on which subject they were studying. They'd be with their friends. They go to join another group over here. They just wanted to be in a community facing each other, working on problems together. And we saw the same activity from other colleges. Their traditional computer labs were empty, but their huddle spaces were just always jam-packed. And even when we started really getting the message, when we started talking to some of our furniture reps about classroom furniture and lounge furniture, they were saying pretty much the same thing, that that's what they were selling a lot of because students really wanted to be more in a community type environment. So the CIO is going, go ahead and go to the next slide. So the CIO is saying, wait a minute, I'm spending a fortune buying computers nobody's using, paying for software licenses that are never touched. And what the students want is something completely different. So she went to, good CIOs do, she went to EDUCAUSE. And of course, she said she was wanting to buy something big and spend lots of money. And of course, there were lots of reps talking to her. One of them being AppsAnywhere, as well as the other ones. And what she saw and heard of was more and more people were moving to some type of virtual lab. So one of the things we had to do was we were going to investigate the various options. Now we were second in line. The first group who tried to do the investigation was our enterprise networking and operations and systems teams. And of course, they went for the traditional ones, the Citrix and the VMware. And the prices they came back with and the systems they came back with was more expensive than buying computers, letting them sit unused in empty rooms. So that didn't work. So then that's when Jaime and I got involved, and they came to us and said, hey, is there another way of doing things? So that's when we started looking into, well, what about streaming providers or some other type of virtual providers? So we started looking at AWS, AppsAnywhere, Microsoft, Porto. There were a couple of others at the time we were looking at that have since gone out of business, so we're kind of glad we didn't choose those. But one of the things we needed to do was find a way to fail fast. So we had all these things. We loved the idea. We loved the concept. Everybody's product looked great. Everybody, of course, said their company was wonderful and supportive and would just really take care of us. So we're looking like, okay, but will this concept work with our students and our environment? And a lot of them required a lot of setup time, a lot of difficulty setting it up. And we were like, well, how are we going to find something that we can test and fail fast at? And then lo and behold, AWS came up with this wonderful little deal. They gave us a free consultant for a week to set up our system, and then we got a reduced rate for I think 6 months on the fees, and said we'll take care of it all for you. So we'll say, okay, we'll take that deal. So we used our engineering department for this test case, and they liked the concept. They were willing to play with it. They were the engineers. They loved trying something new, trying experiments out. And the concept worked well enough for them. They weren't real thrilled with the browser-only interface, but they were able to use the software anywhere they wanted. They were able to use some unique things with it. And say, yeah, actually, this is something we might use and something we might like. Because again, they could go back to their dorm room and work on their homework there. They didn't have to go to the lab to do it. Or if they wanted to be with their friends near the coffee shop, they could do it there. So it worked out well enough that we were going to now, like I said here, investigate the cost and features. That turned out to be more of a problem than we thought. Well, so they all had, all of these different ones had different schemes. How much storage you're using, how many apps do you have, how many people, what's your peak utilization, how much infrastructure you're going to need to build in our environment. or as AppsAnywhere, it's more of a flat fee. It's like we're sitting here and we just pages of spreadsheets. So after looking at all that data and looking at all the problems we had, we decided to, and let's now go ahead and go next one to AppsAnywhere. Now the first and most important one for us, I think you have the older version here, Jaime, but that's okay, was a fixed price contract. Cost was a big thing for us. All the other ones, especially in the real main contenders for us were between AppStream and AppsAnywhere, AWS product, and the one we're talking about today. It was nickel and diming. Every time you added a user, you had a storage space, you had a server space, you had all these little things you had to do, and then we had to build another infrastructure out in the cloud, and it was all piecemeal pricing, and we started adding it up, and it figured out if we weren't careful, it'd get real expensive. Whereas with AppsAnywhere, they said, hey, you add more users, you have, as long as your servers handle it, we don't care, have as many people log in as you want. The other thing we liked about it is that with AppsAnywhere, we were able to just bolt it onto our existing, existing VMware environment. So this allowed us to, we didn't have to hire new specialists, we didn't have people trained in new things, we didn't have to set up a new infrastructure. We literally just added their servers to our existing servers, so we didn't have to add admins, we didn't have to add special skills, so there was a very big cost savings on that side as well. One of the things we really liked was software streaming. I'll be honest with you, I was one of those people, I am not thrilled with the idea of doing everything in a browser. Just, it did not thrill me. And we didn't think it would be a good user experience either, which I'll talk about here in a second. One of the main things I didn't like about it. What we really liked is, so 50% of our students, only because the 50% have Macs, but 50% of our students could run all the software natively on a PC. All of our classroom and all of our lab machines were PCs, so that all the software could run natively on those. We didn't have to install all these various applications. Everybody could use AppsAnywhere. And for the 50% of our students who have Macs, it was a reasonably decent sorry, I got this. My tongue got tied up here. It was a reasonably workable interface. Now, granted, for Mac users, it's not quite as simple as they're used to from the Mac OS, but for running PC software on a Mac, it was a pretty good interface, and they still had access to local files. And like I said, mentioned here, it was very easy to deliver this to classrooms. Sorry. So the next one was file management, and the big one here is apps had normal access, especially if you were on a PC. If you were running the software on the PC, of course you had access. But even on the Macs, you could access your local folders. Again, a little kludgier than we would have loved, but good enough. You could access your local folders. We also added something called a T drive to all the students. Because we were on our own environment, we could just add them a share on the network. So we gave them all like a small 2 gig file place, so they could start in one location, work on a file, go to another location, work on the same file, go back to their PC or their Mac, and work on that same file, because they're all stored in the temporary drive, and then eventually turn it in and then clear that out and put in the next assignment. The other thing we liked is because it was all in our service, our traditional tools worked. Because I'm sure none of you have ever had the problem where a student forgot where they saved their file. They saved it on the local lab machine, or in our case, the VDI machine, and they forgot to download it. They forgot to put it where they could find it. They just hit save button and didn't think about it. And then they have to come back to us and say, where is it? Or I lost it, or this is important, we need to find it. At one level, you want to say, no, we're not going to help you. But at another level, you're like, yeah, we're going to help you. So it makes it very simple. We can just go on to using our normal file tools, find their profile, find the file, email it to them and say, here it is, don't do that again. So overall, I just want to say, overall, we really like the features of AppsAnywhere offered, and at that point in time, it fit our needs. And that's why we chose them. We did do a broad-ranging search for that, but in the end, AppsAnywhere was our choice ahead. Now, as to what we did with it once we picked it, turn this over to Jaime and let him continue on the presentation.
Yeah, thank you. Good day. Thank you for having me in this webinar. I just wanted to share, the journey that we are basically using to improve our IT resources to our students, which they are the most important part in our campus. And I just want to start talking about the technical perspective, and the thing that I want to start is with how were we deploying apps before the pandemic, and basically we were using SCCM for pushing apps to our lab machines. We struggle honestly with some apps having issues to be deployed. So we were not 100% sure that the app was successfully deployed into the lab machine. So we needed to do extra time, to spend extra time basically to make sure that the app was installed in each and every machine in the lab. Using AppsAnywhere to make those apps available was a game changer. To be able to focus in one place to create the package, and we all know the whole process, which is completely less than creating a package in SCCM and to deploy it and to push it out to the different labs on campus. But with AppsAnywhere having just to be focused in one place, that was a very, very huge deal for us. It was a game changer, I would say, to be focused in one place, to spend the time, and to know for sure that we want to have the app package and basically available to everyone on campus to be used. Also, we experienced challenging with a lot of faculty requesting apps to be installed in lab machines in the last minutes. And I know for sure that everybody can get that. For instance, we have, I received email and sometimes calls about a faculty calling me or sending me an email at 7 at night asking me if an app can be installed in the lab by 7, before, because they wanted to use it 7 a.m. in the morning. So I was having just a few hours to work in that. So at that point, it was a very challenge for all that. For all the thing that was basically happening at that time, and related to that, we can see now faculty basically with their mind shifted. What I mean by that is now I receive call or email saying, hey, can we put this app in AppsAnywhere so we can use it for tomorrow morning or for the next day, but we are seeing faculty changing the request to now to use AppsAnywhere as our resource to deploy or to publish packages or applications. So we can see in the way that I want to focus and giving the student a better experience is basically when during the pandemic, when the students were sent out home, they were wondering how can I use the program now? How can I use MATLAB? How can I use AutoCAD? Those kind of software that we normally pay for license. They were wondering, well, there is a way to use it remotely. There is a way to connect to those computers. So, and here is when AppsAnywhere also came to give us a better resource, a better experience with our students. So a student from all over the world, China, Korea, different states in the United States, students were able to use AppsAnywhere for all the apps that we have, and that previously were installed in our lab machines. So one student got back on campus after the pandemic. They were thanking us for the great resource that we were able to provide to them during the pandemic. And now we are seeing a student on campus, not in the lab necessarily, but all over the place, at the library, at the dorms, and in the back, on campus, any place, using AppsAnywhere. I remember a few weeks ago, I saw a professor teaching outside. We have sometimes a beautiful weather, and I saw the professor teaching, and everybody has their own machines, and they were using one of the applications. They were using JMP, and I was crossing by, and they say, "Jaime, thank you for having JMP and AppsAnywhere." So that's really made my day that day, because I say, "Wow, that's great." So we can. We are completely satisfied about how we are using AppsAnywhere and how students and even faculty are using our software to use it. We have most college-owned apps published in AppsAnywhere. We have around 125 applications available to them, and not just to students, as I said, it's also to faculty. There are some employees that they use some application that we have there. We implemented to have few labs with the minimum apps installed, very, very minimum, but everything is been running through AppsAnywhere. We have the same for our classroom teaching computers, where we can basically have the minimum program installed, but we have the AppsAnywhere icon on our desktop. So any application, any software that the professor wants to use for teaching, they can just launch it through AppsAnywhere. So the time for, and this is very important for us, the time for refreshing those computers during the refresh time, sometime normally in the summer, has been extremely reduced. So we are spending less time refreshing those lab machines, teaching computers with a very, very minimum time, because we only need to have SCCM to deploy the machine with the operating system and Microsoft Word, and even to have the AppsAnywhere client installed during the refresh or during the process, and then everything else it's running through AppsAnywhere. So another thing that we have available is how we are classifying apps based on labs. And for example, we have the in vivo for the psychology faculty and students program that allow us to manage well our application. We have others like SPSS, MATLAB, and so on. So we do have the same for other different labs. However, we do have other apps that can be seen and can be used for any student on campus, and off campus as well, and as well as faculty. And again, student feedback about the issue that they experience. which is they've been very, very minimal. So sometimes they call us saying, hey, the app is taking so long to be launched. So we normally ask, okay, what is your internet connectivity? How fast is your internet? Those kind of things, which make the student a better position, and even us in a better position, because it's not something that we can control when it's internet connectivity. Another issue is when that's happened very often until the student gets familiar with how to use the app, but sometimes they call us saying, I'm trying to open a file that I received from my professor, SPSS file, and what they do is they double click the file thinking that the SPSS is going to open. So we have been given some instruction. We are basically making a plan, and we already had some plan, but making a plans to have those instructions as part of the normally that's happened for freshman students, because software and so on, they are more familiar using AppsAnywhere. So, but for freshmen, they get stuck, and sometimes. So, but that is something that basically they complain a little bit, like, I'm trying to open the file, it's not open. Okay, try it. Launch SPSS to AppsAnywhere, and then once you're there, open the file. Oh yeah, it worked. Okay, yeah, that is the way that it's supposed to work. So another issue that they were experiencing is every time I need to launch the apps every time, because I remove them from the cloud paging, which we are telling them, no, you don't have to remove the app. As long as you using the app, you can keep it in the cloud paging. So the next time that you use the app, it will be faster. The launch will be faster. So they are learning that. About analytics, that is one of the huge resources that our department is taking advantage. The analytics, we can create reports about total logins, total users, device, seen on campus, and connecting to our AppsAnywhere, the most applications used either on campus, off campus. So we can create a stats based in those fields, and we are learning how to use it. So we are every day learning new things about how to use analytics, how to compare data, how to provide those data to our CIO, to our bosses, and basically make the resource that we are paying more useful, because we can compare, okay, we need more license for SPSS because we've seen a lot of users, a lot of faculty using the SPSS as a common application. So we can see the old, we can see that use and effective. So that's why we are using analytics for all our reports and those kind of things. Another thing, so glad to be in the latest version of the AppsAnywhere, the 2.12. Anyone not having that version yet, will encourage you to upgrade to. It's a very, very good release. A few highlights about that is we can see the clean user interface, very clean. We had some experience from faculty or students in the past having there's so many things and and the portal, and sometimes we got confused, and sometimes, well, this version 2.12 came very clean, just few applications in the main page, but also we can we have the re-download client option, which it was an excellent feature that was embedded, or it was included in this version, in this release. One of the problems that we had with Mac users in the past was sometimes they, the first time they download the client, they were asked, you want to move to the trash after once the program is installed, and they basically they were putting the program in the trash or deleting it from the computer. For some reason, if the app got corrupted or something is not working, when we were trying to uninstall the client and trying to install it again, we were having some issues. So I need to connect to my map drive and my network drive and download the client because there were not an easy way to get the file back. So with the re-download client option, the student can just re-download the client and install it right away. So that is a very good feature that I really like it. Another feature is the revalidation. One of the issue that students were having was sometimes they were having the computer on, but sometimes the internet got interrupted or something happened. So when they tried to relaunch the app or launch the app, the computer was not talking to our license server or any other reason. Well, with this option, with this feature, they just need to revalidate the credentials, and everything is ready to go. So they can just launch the app without any issue. So we can see a lot of new features and new version and the new release, and basically very important. I was actually having those features, those options as part of my feedback to AppsAnywhere, and I'm so glad I didn't have to add it because they added it. I'm assuming other IT admins they had the same question, and probably they were so useful with that. So, but those kind of things, clean a user interface, make very good the user interface for AppsAnywhere. What I want to do actually, and this is basically one other thing about the new version is the search improvement. Very good way to find apps. Faster application launches. We can see the difference between the previous version with this version with the way that the application is launched. It's launched. Simpler way to access those favorite application, those applications that you normally use most, and again, better launch process. At the retry button, if the program for somehow doesn't work, you can click the retry button and the program will be launched or it will be relaunched again. The local install detection, we are implementing that for some employees, faculty computers, for some faculty computers as well, where if the program is installed locally, when they open AppsAnywhere for use either the program or another program, they can see the option that the program is installed and detect the program install, and it's just they can click the local install button to open the program that is locally installed. So that is something that we are implementing. Again, for our labs machines and classroom machines, we are having just the Windows and the Office products there. The rest it have to be launched by AppsAnywhere or through AppsAnywhere. So just to summarize, and what I want to do is very quick go through this, and I want to do a very quick demo about using our AppsAnywhere. So the low cost, sometimes the lab is locked, so a student cannot go to the lab and out of regular hours. So having AppsAnywhere has been, as I said, a game changer. It's been great because they can use our software from anywhere, improving the student experience. We can see student using AppsAnywhere from all over the country, all over the place. Reducing the IT workload, so instead of spending time in different machines, different labs, we can just be focused in one place and create those packages and publish it right away. And also very important, we have some old application that for somehow faculty don't want to get rid of. So, but we are able to package those software and AppsAnywhere and be able to provide them. And they are using. We have one very old Hypercam, probably someone is familiar with. This is a very old application that needs to be even manually installed in the computer. So we are able to create a package for that, and they are using that program. So, and that is what, and the control license, a very good tool because we can manage licenses through AppsAnywhere. Okay, now I just let me just go back to open. So I hope everyone can see so we rebrand the name to Thunder Apps to make it, Thunder is our motto, I would say. So we have, so this is our campus. So we have, because I'm using my office computer, so I can just click here. And then as you see, you can see just few applications. If I need more application than that, and then I can click few more. Let me open Violin. This is one of the programs that is being used for biology professors. And if you see how fast is the program launched, they are amazed how the program is working. I don't know how to use it, but you can see how fast the program opens. We can probably very quick use let's try SPSS. I like challenges. So this is SPSS. You see how the software is running. In previous version, we can see SPSS taking more time to be launched. Now we can see the process of virtualizing, and now it's running, which is this part here is basically the same time as if the program is installed on the computer. So we can see. Okay, and now we have SPSS open. SPSS is one of the most used programs on campus right now. And it's been used for either new faculty that they've been using SPSS in the past. And you see how fast without compromising, the slow the computer or compromising any other resource that the computer might have. We can see that. So this is the test that I want to. Oh, and basically, if I go here, this is all the things that I was talking about. If I go to return to admin, I can see more the analytics. I can see a quick view of how many application, how many login has been for this month. And as you can see, is the amount of logins active users. So we are exploding AppsAnywhere as the maximum capacity right now with our resource. And student, all our users are very, very happy with this resource. Okay, I don't know if Michael wants to add something, but thank you so much for having me to share this.
Thank you, Jaime, and thank you, Michael, for that amazing presentation. I am conscious of time, however, we do have a question that's come through which I would like to pass over to you, gentlemen. We have had a question here which asks, are all the users happy with the clean interface that has come along with 2.12? As they've had some students say that they would rather see all their apps visible at once. What is your guys' opinion on that?
Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
Well, I just say the first time I saw it, it took me back. It's like, what happened to all the apps? And then Jaime said, you just have to type in the search. It's like, oh, okay. And there is a button there. Again, it's like, I think it's one of the other things. We've changed so many things in the students this year. It was just one more change. I don't think we've gotten any pushback. I don't know. Jaime, have you heard anything?
No, I haven't heard anything. Just one faculty that he used AppsAnywhere very, very early when we implemented, and he started using it after the latest version, and he called me saying, hey, did I miss something? Because I seen AppsAnywhere kind of different. And I said, no, this is a new version. This is a very clean. But if you click the link at the bottom, what it says view more apps or see more apps. I don't remember exactly, but you can see all the apps that we have posted or published there. Just one professor, but the rest, I haven't get any call about that.
Perfect, thank you guys. I am conscious of the time and the session is coming to a close now. So if you do have any other questions that you haven't been able to ask, you can send them over in email and I will send them over to the gentleman here to answer your questions. We will be sending out marketing emails early next week, which will have all the answers, all the Q&A sections for all of Summit that has happened today on our website. I'd like to thank you all again, and especially to Jaime and Michael for presenting such a wonderful session. Thank you all very much, and thank you for attending Summit this year.